What's up, beautiful people? Asia Mac, I'm back. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to It Was Written, a project. And as promised, today is part 2 of my homeless story. So just to give a slight recap of last week's episode, I shared with you guys that I was, in fact, homeless for 3 months in 2015. And I just shared with you guys how that came to be, how I became homeless. Of course, if you didn't see that episode, feel free to check it out if you care to. Today, I'm just going to, I guess, pick up where that episode left off. But if you want to get the full story, obviously, abort this mission and check out last week's episode first. So now that you guys know and understand the events leading up to me becoming homeless, today I want to share with you guys what that experience was like for me. I was living in New York. You know, I mentioned that already. It was my first year in New York, and 8 months in is when this all happened, which honestly by month 3 life was pretty much hell. I think by month 3 I was already like, yo, this was a very bad decision. Like, this was Jesus, this was a bad decision. So I think the obvious question at that point was, you know, why didn't I just go back home? Life was so bad, why didn't you just go back home? And honestly, that's not a question that I can like fully answer. Like, I don't know why I didn't go back home. I mean, I know why, but I don't know why. It's really hard to say at this point what was truly going through my head at that time. I just knew that this was something that I was very determined to make happen. You know, I was very determined to make this work, and it wasn't ego. It wasn't like I wasn't embarrassed or anything to go back home. This was just something that I truly wanted. I made a lot of sacrifices in making this move, and you know, I guess I had something to prove. But it wasn't pride, like, you know, like, I am not a prideful person at all, clearly. But I think that I believed in what I desired so much that not even being homeless moved me. I think that's the best way that I can explain it. When I left the last place that I was staying, which is with the couple, I knew I didn't have any immediate options. I accepted right then and there, okay, this is what's happening. Like, this is what I'm going to have to do. And that was that. I didn't know how long it was going to last. I didn't know if I would be able to survive. I had obviously never been homeless before. I didn't know anything. You know, I just had a high level of optimism that this is gonna work out. And I guess I figured, you know, I'm gonna do this until I can't do it anymore. You know, if it comes down to the point where I'm like, yo, I just can't do this, like, I can't do this, at that point, you know, we'll figure out the next step. But as of right now, you know, this is what it is. Now, I think the craziest thing in the world is how easily I adapted to it. By the first week, it was almost like regular. It was regular. And I think I mentioned this before, like, how easily I adapt. I am just very easily adaptable. Like, I can go anywhere. You can put me anywhere. I think as long as I don't really know how to explain it. But I literally could probably, like, live anywhere in the world and easily just adapt to it. I always forget my journal. I want to read something to you guys. Give me 1 second. Okay, so this is August 4th, 2015. I wrote this at 10:52. I wrote, Well, I can't even find it. See, this is what I mean by this. Like, whatever I'm about to read right now, this isn't even the first thing that I wrote. Like, I literally was just writing about whatever else. Like, where is it at? Okay, I wrote, yesterday was my third night in a row sleeping in my car. It has officially become home. Like, why isn't that like the first thing that I wrote about? Like, I was writing about, that's how it was just like whatever it was. So yesterday was my third night in a row sleeping in my car. It has officially become home. I suppose I'll get used to it. I must say, as crazy as it sounds, being in my car is a hell of a lot better than being at, I don't want to say their names, both places. And by both places, I obviously mean the girl's house where I initially stayed, and then the couple's house. Living in both those households, they were completely different experiences, but they were both like, they sucked. They both sucked. And I know that sounds crazy to hear, that living out my car was better than living with a roof over my head, essentially. But honestly, being in my car made me feel like, yo, I can finally breathe. Like, I'm free. And I think what I was trying to say before about like adapting, I think that as long as I'm able to, I guess, move the way that I want to move, do what I want to do, I'm trying to figure out the best way to explain that. I don't know. It's just, there was a comforting discomfort, if that makes any sense, about living in my car. I think I just don't like to live with people. I think that that's really what it comes down to. And, you know, especially when you're in a situation when you're in a situation where you're living in somebody else's home, and it's not comfortable for me. So it was a lot more comforting and freeing just to get out of both of those houses. And, you know, whatever, I'm living in my car. You know, like, it's crazy. It sounds crazy, but literally I read back in some of these entries, and unless something just like drastic was happening as it pertains to me being homeless, I really didn't even write about the fact that I was homeless a lot. Like, it was just a part of my life. It was like, all right, well, I live in my car. Okay, you know, what else is going on? And that's what I wrote about. All right, you guys, so I knew this was gonna happen. I have to do a little bit of work for like an hour and a half. So yeah, I'll be back to finish the story. And I just say that because I don't know if I'll be in the same setting. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if I'm gonna have to come back tomorrow or what I'm gonna have to do, but I need to do just a little bit of work really quick. So I'll be back. Okay, guys, so I'm back, and I had time to make, can you get down, please? I'm back, and I had time to make lunch, so Jesus is on my side. If you guys care, I'm gonna tell you anyway. I'm having sauteed broccoli, roasted potatoes, and grilled shrimp, and it's a great time. So to pick up where I left off, which I don't even know, I got some notes though. Give me 1 second while I check my notes. So yes, this was something that I thought was really important to mention because it plays a huge part in this entire story. The fact that I was broke. You guys, please, this was a bad idea. Braces and broccoli. I'm gonna stop eating for a second. Okay, so when I first became homeless, I had just started again working in the service industry, and that was like the one thing that I said that I was not going to do. I didn't want to go back to working in a bar. I didn't want to go back to, I just didn't want to be in the service industry. Upon leaving for New York, I had actually gotten a job at Equinox, which is like an upscale fitness facility. I think they used to call it a club or something, but a very upscale gym. But I had to go through a training program before I could start training. So I was doing that during the day, and then I was working at another gym, Star Fitness, which Star Fitness was like a bodybuilding gym, sort of, kind of like an equivalent to Powerhouse. I was doing that at night, and I was doing it overnight, and I was making no money. But at the time it was all good, because at first I was living with baby girl, and I had planned to stay there for my first year. Star Fitness was an amazing gym in reference to just meeting people. I met so many great people at Star Fitness, and then once I started, the actual job training at Equinox. Why do I have so much? I'm so sorry. I figured once I started training at Equinox, I was going to really be making money there. So it really didn't seem like a huge deal to me. Like I told you before I even left for New York, when I moved back to my childhood home, my primary goal was getting out of the service industry. So, I was okay with it at that point in time. When I went to New York, I had no intention on being in anybody's bar, being in anybody's restaurant, serving anybody's tables, pouring anybody no drinks. Okay? So I was good. But then, life just started happening to me. All the crap with my living situation, and I just knew I had to do something different. All that, I don't want to work at the bar, I don't want to do it, all that went out the window. I ended up, this guy that I knew from the gym, from Star Fitness, again, I got so many connections at that gym. I hated the gym, like I hated the owners, but the people, their clientele were like so awesome. So a guy that I knew from the gym, he was a manager at a restaurant, and he ended up actually prior to that, I actually ended up leaving Equinox. That's what happened. I left Equinox, and I got a job at this local bar in Inwood, because obviously the training for Equinox was like a job. It was a job. So obviously I couldn't have 3 jobs. I wasn't getting paid for the training part at Equinox, so I was in such a desperate situation. Equinox had to go. So I was working at Star Fitness, and I ended up getting a job at this local bar in Inwood. I got hired there. I applied as a server. I got hired as a hostess because they didn't have any positions available, claiming that a position was, about to come available, like, can you just host this for whatever. So I was like, okay, cool. So I worked at Star Fitness Monday through Thursday, and I worked at the bar in Inwood, Tryon, Friday night and all day Sunday. And the servers there made so much money. And I was just stuck, like I needed money daily. Like I needed cash in hand, so even as a hostess, I was getting a check, but I was like, let me wait it out, because eventually whatever. But yeah, I was stuck there, like literally watching all this money come in, watching these people get paid. I'm sitting up here looking silly, standing at the front of the daggone restaurant, like still not making any money. And at the time I was living with a couple, and I didn't really know, again, like I didn't know nothing about nothing, during this whole time. So I didn't even know how long I would be staying with the couple. Like obviously I didn't know like that was going to happen and I was going to end up homeless. But I was trying to get this money because I was trying to get out of that house ASAPness. I did not like being there. So a couple of months had passed and they still did not put me on the floor at the bar. And that's when the guy ended up getting me a job at his restaurant. Shout out to Q. So right before I started training at the restaurant, I actually left the bar. I actually left the gym. I wasn't really like getting into it with the owners, but the owners were some freaking like, they were some nasty, like ugly, money hungry, no integrity type people. Like, I hated the owners of that gym. Their clientele was freaking amazing. Their clientele was amazing, but the owners themselves, they were like, I'm surprised that people were actually like spending their money there, because they were like, they, at any rate, it was a conflict. I had to leave. So after that, it's literally like one thing after another. After that, I was still at Tryon, the bar, and I was started training at the restaurant, um, which was great. You know, I was able to do both. But once I actually got hired and put on the schedule at the restaurant, they gave me zero flexibility to have my other job hostessing. Um, so again, one thing after another. At that point, excuse me, at that point I had to choose. You know, it was like hostess, serve. You know, months had already passed at the bar, and they didn't put me on the floor, and they knew that's what I applied for. They told me that it was coming. Nothing ever happened. Here I'm starting out as a server, and you know, everybody that I was talking to, we make so much money, we didn't, lying to my face. Well, I don't know if they were lying or not, to be honest. What I know is that starting out as a server at this restaurant, and I have to like really restaurant bar, because two totally different, you know, arenas there. Starting out as a server at this restaurant, wackish shifts, all these morning shifts, like no money. Still no money. Hi. Change of scenery. Story of my life. My camera died. So now I'm on my computer, which the video quality is subpar, to say the least, but we're gonna make it work. So, where was I? Broke. I was broke. Making no money at this job, and it was only a couple of weeks after that, after all of this, of getting on the floor at this job, having to let the other job go, realizing that this new job was not the move. I'm sorry, did I say months? It was only a couple of weeks after that that I became homeless. And I mean, I really didn't know what to do. I stuck it out for a little second. I stuck it out for a second at this silly ass job, because obviously, you know, some money is better than no money. But my first month of being homeless was combined with being broke, like completely broke. Um, so I couldn't save. Like, I couldn't save to get a spot. Um, I couldn't do anything but pray, to be honest. There was never a point in time throughout this whole experience that I didn't have a job. I just didn't have money. I just wasn't able to come up. I wasn't able to make anything shake. None of these jobs were producing. So this was the entire month of August. September rolls around, and I get a new job. I get this job in Midtown serving, and that's when everything started to kind of shift for me. Um, I was still homeless, but money was coming in, and I was actually able to hold on, you know, to some money. I was actually able to save some money. At the very beginning, you know, I was obviously in a red. You know, I had to kind of like, you know, play catch up a little bit, but it ended up, you know, it ended up working out. So I guess this is where, you know, like the day in the life of me being homeless begins. Well, it's not when it began. I'm sorry, it began when it started, which was at the beginning of August. Um, and actually, I had to refresh my memory a little bit about like what actually was happening during that time, because September, that wasn't even when things started looking up. Things didn't start looking up until like mid-October, you know. But that's just kind of like the timeline of like jobs and like the money coming in. So when I tell you guys like the day to day, you'll know why I was going through what I was going through or why all of this was happening, I guess. Okay, so taking you guys back to month one. Um, very first day, very first night that I became homeless, I remember I parked my car on just a random street, and it was kind of like a busier street. It was kind of like a busier street. I just found the first parking that I could find because if you know anything about New York, you know that parking is super scarce and parking is scarce. So I just found whatever spot that I could find and I just kind of like set up camp there. I remember waking up the next day and immediately being like, I can't do this. Um, I guess it was just like too out in the open for me when I woke up. Obviously, it was people all in the street. Um, Not all in the street, but people were like up doing their morning things. And it's like you're in New York, so people are always on the street. Um, I just felt I didn't feel safe. I felt very uncomfortable, and I was like, all right, I need to find some place that I can go where I can come back to this place every night because I didn't want to have to. Obviously, I wasn't going to have that spot every night. Every night, I would have had to find a new place to park my car. So I wanted to be somewhere where I can just come back to this spot every night. So I ended up, um, for the duration of all of this, the rest of the 3 months, I would park my car every day at Bay Plaza. So Bay Plaza is a shopping center in the Bronx. Um, so obviously it's a shopping center, free parking, big parking lot. Um, I just kind of like tucked myself away like in a little corner like by a tree or something. Obviously it wasn't secluded. It was a big, parking spot, but it didn't draw a lot of attention. I'm at the mall, so I'm blending in with everybody. I don't look weird just kind of like being in my car. And also when when the day, came to an end, everybody was leaving. Everybody was leaving the mall, so it wasn't like a lot of traffic. It wasn't a lot going on by the time that I was like, going to sleep. So that just ended up being that just really ended up kind of like being my home. That was the place that I, always, came back to at the end of my day. So those very beginning or that first month was obviously the most trying. That's when I was working at the place where I was making no money. Um, my day to day looked like I really wasn't making enough money to eat. I was eating like once a day. Um, that first month I had lost so much weight. Um, I would eat, at work. That's really how I ate. Like when I was at work, I would eat at work. When I wasn't at work, I don't know. I just found a way. I remember at one point, I was eating Red Lobster biscuits because there was a Red Lobster in the plaza where I lived, and I would eat Red Lobster biscuits every day because like a half a dozen biscuits was like 2.15. I mean, I was literally like scraping change out of my car. At that point, I had a membership at Planet Fitness that was either expired or it was expiring. I know that at one point the membership was expired, but I was still going in. And I don't know if they were just like charging. I don't know what was going on. I don't know what was going on, but at one point the membership was expired, but I was still like going into the gym and that's how I showered. Um, at that point I wasn't even working out. Like I couldn't work out because I couldn't eat. So you know, it would have been silly for me to work out and not be able to eat anything afterwards. So I would just, get up in the morning, go to the gym, shower, um, do my hair. Um, I would just take my stuff into the gym and, do my thing. And it didn't really seem, you know, it didn't seem like anything. Like people shower at the gym all the time, but I think, at one point people were kind of like noticing that I was coming in and I wasn't working out and I was coming in just to shower. That could have just been my paranoia, but I feel like people noticed that, I never worked out. I actually think when I was doing that, my membership was expiring, and then it actually did expire, and I couldn't get into the gym anymore. Um, and I remember having to, there was like a shop. I don't know if it was like a donut shop or it was some little like, I don't know, diner looking whatever, that it was open 24 hours. So, um, sometimes, I mean, obviously I'm still living life even though I'm homeless. So I wake up in the morning, sometimes I would have to use the bathroom. And I found that place where I can like just get up and go to the bathroom if I needed to go to the bathroom. Um, I think like most people, well, not most people, but a lot of people have what's the word I'm looking for? You can't use the bathroom in public. And I've always been that way. Like I can't use the bathroom in public. That left, that was shot out the window. I mean, how else would we, I had no other choice. Eventually, I got smart and I got a cup that I just kept with me. And if I just had to pee, I wake up in the morning and I would just pee in that cup and discard it. It's crazy the things that you come up with, when your back is kind of against the wall, when you don't have a choice, I mean, I really felt like I was like living in the wild. I felt like, you know, I was, the survival of the fittest. So, um, yeah, I mean, there were so many situations where I'm just like I have to do what I have to do. Just like the Cheddar Bay biscuits, that was like my only meal for so many days. That was like my only meal. I could only come up with $2.15 or however much it was. There was one day, because when my Planet Fitness membership expired, I think it was only expired for like maybe a week and a half before I got the money. I'm sorry, before I got the money to pay it. But a week and a half is a long time when, that's your means of like showering and stuff. So I remember one day I had to, um, like wash up in the McDonald's bathroom. Um, I was about to say, I don't know what I used. I mean, I had soap. I had soap and toiletries and all that because that's what I brought to the gym. Um, I think I just washed up with like a paper. As a matter of fact, that was probably the most, I mean, I think at that point, that's when I was like, at that point of like calling it quits. I think that I had like a breakdown at that point when I had to wash up in the McDonald's bathroom. Um, if I can find the entry here, I know I wrote about it. I'll share it with you guys. And actually, I'm sorry. I think all the things that I'm speaking of was probably late month one, early month two. I'm going to take a step back. I'm sorry. I'm going to take a step back because it's going to be really hard for me to like really get this in like chronological order. Um, so instead of like trying to go back into my journals and tell you the things that happened, I'm just going to tell you what I remember about the experience. In whatever month or whatever period, it happened to be in, it's just when it happened to be in. Because I'm really kind of like getting the dates and the times mixed up right now. So I've mentioned already a couple of things that I vividly remember. One story that I did want to share, this is not like a day-to-day thing, but one story that I remember that I thought, it wasn't funny then, but it's funny now. I remember at one point, and this was early on, staying at Bay Plaza, I started noticing that other people were sleeping in their cars too. It was one day or one night, this car pulls up next to me, and I actually have the story right here. I'm gonna see if I can say it without reading it. This guy pulls up next to me, and I noticed that he didn't get out of his car, and he had like leaned his seat back. And I knew that he noticed me. I knew that he noticed me, and I knew that he was gonna say something the next day. Like, I knew that he was gonna say something to me. I don't know why I didn't move my car, but I didn't. So the next day, I'm in my back seat chilling, like on the phone, as if I'm on a couch. This guy comes to my car. He like puts his hand over, and he's like looking completely in my car, and asked me if I wanted a shake and a banana. Jay was his name. Okay, I'm gonna read this. I politely say no thank you to the shake and the banana. He stands there, like I said, with his arms folded on my roof. His head was damn near inside my window, his eyes wandering all inside my car. I'm like, what is happening right now? You cannot just be in people's personal space like that. Then he goes on to say, or he goes on to ask me, what are you doing here? If you don't mind me asking. Like, yeah. Yes, I do mind. I wrote something else in this journal. I ain't gonna say it though. Yeah, and I just was talking about how I was like completely like uncomfortable, like on another level of like discomfort. Um, and then he go and ask me for my number. Like, Jay, we both clearly in the same situation, and a damn thing you can do for me right now. On a daily basis, like on a day to day, you know, what I remember is trying to go to sleep early. I remember always trying to go to sleep early because I wanted to wake up early because Panera opened at 6. So I wanted to be at Panera when it opened because, even though I was staying in like, the mall part of whatever, there were still people like there, in the morning, going to work, doing whatever they were doing. So I didn't want people to see me like emerging from my backseat. I didn't want people to see me sleeping in my car like Jay ass. So I tried to go to sleep early and I tried to wake up early so, you know, people wouldn't see, what I was doing. So I remember every morning like going to Panera, brushing my teeth, getting coffee. When I got the Planet Fitness membership active again, I went back to, um, you know, doing my showering and everything at the gym. And Planet Fitness had 1,000,001 locations like over the Bronx. And so remember before I told you that I thought people had noticed me and they saw that I was like coming in and just showering and not working out or whatever. So when I got it reactivated, I would go to a different Planet Fitness like every other day, like just to switch it up. And for the most part, I just really tried to keep myself busy. I tried to stay busy, um, until the time that I had to like, go back and retire and go to sleep. I would do all sorts of things. Like I wasn't natural back then, so I would, wash my hair. I would like really do my hair and style my hair at the gym. I had one close girlfriend at the time, and we would actually hang out. Like, I would go to the gym, shower, change, do my hair, and go out with her, and she literally had no clue of anything that was going on. Um, Again, like I was working a lot. I just didn't look like what I was going through. If you ask anybody that I worked with, I looked just like how I am now. I was talking just how I'm talking now. I lived a regular life. I just, didn't have a home. I was homeless. I lived out my car. Um, I actually had a birthday during this time. Um, 2015, my birthday came around and I went home for my birthday. I came home to Detroit for my birthday, and I remember packing my suitcase. I had a laundry bag full of clothes, and my suitcase was like in my trunk. They were both in my trunk. I was on the street packing my suitcase to go home. Um, Went home, nobody knew, celebrated my birthday, had a good time. My best friend she was living in Atlanta at the time. She came home for my birthday. Literally nobody knew. Um, it was a crazy time. It was a crazy, crazy time for sure. I think about my life, back then, and I think about, like, when people say functioning alcoholic, that's how I consider myself to be, like, as a homeless person. Um, I mean, I don't know what homelessness looks like to everybody, but clearly it it comes in many, many different ways. It's not, the people who are standing, on the street with a sign, begging in the trains, you know what I'm saying? This can literally, like, be what homeless looks like. I don't know how I survived that. I don't know how I was able to get through that. I don't know how I was able to do half of the things that I did during that time, especially, smile. There were plenty of times where I cried and, I was just confused and I didn't know what to do and I felt defeated. It was definitely probably the most trying and testing, period of my life, but there were also days that, like, weren't so bad. There were days where I found time to, like, smile and laugh and actually have a good time. So I always, would ask during that time, like, or not ask during that time, but say during that time, like, somebody really wanted to humble me. I don't know why. I didn't think that I was ever in a position of, like, needing to be, like, humbled, but it happened. I was. And it's funny because after I got out of the situation, it was almost like it never ever happened. I never forgot, but it never, like, affected me. It never bothered me. It never made me feel any, you know, type of way. It was just a life experience for me. Um, an experience that I never want to go through again. An experience, honestly, that I don't think that I could ever, or a situation that I don't think that I could ever be in again. You know, it's crazy. It's still crazy to me that I was able to do that. It, it blows my mind. Like, whatever strength or courage or whatever I had back then, I ain't got that now. Like, I could never be homeless today. So, you know, yeah, all I know is the experience. I know how it shaped me. To this day, I still don't know why. I don't know why that happened. I'm basically just happy I survived. I persevered. Becoming homeless was a devastating blow, obviously, especially, like, my main vision, going to New York. I wanted to build this grand life for myself, have a home, restoration of my independence and stuff like that. So for this to happen, um, and the fact that it didn't defeat me, I never let go of that vision. I never let go of, that desire. And now life is kind of like coming full circle for me as it pertains to, you know, what home is about to look like for me. It's crazy everything that I had to go through, the route that I had to take just to bring me back to really the place that I always was and was always meant to be.